So good morning. So today I'll be speaking about the Mental Healthcare Act 2017. So myself, I am Dr. Rohit Balakrishnan and Senior Assistant Department of Psychiatry, Sri Lakshmi Narayana Institute of Medical Science, Pondicherry, which is affiliated to Bharat Institute, Bharat University, Chennai. So overview. So our presentation will take these main headings. So first we'll give an introduction to what Mental Health Care Act is, and then we will move on to the new terminologies which has been added in 2017. Then we'll go to the various chapters, and we will compare and contrast MHA 2017 with the previous MHAs. So and finally we can conclude. So this will be my pattern of presentation. So introduction. So what was the need? What was the need for a Mental Health Care Act in India? So basically, to protect the rights of people with mental disorders and to address stigma, discrimination, and marginalizations in all societies. So in India, it all started in 1858. So the first Healthcare Act, Mental Health Care Act, was the Lunacy Supreme Court Act, which was in 1858, which was followed by Lunacy District Courts Act in 1858 and Lunatic Asylum Act in 1858. So, opposed that, there was this Indian Lunatic Asylums Amendment Act in 1886, and same was amended again in 1889, the Indian Lunatic Asylums Amendment Act 1889. So then in 1912, there was this Indian Lunacy Act, and in 1987, the Mental Health Act was established. The Mental Health Care Bill was amended in 2013, and the latest version, the Mental Health Care Act, came out in 2007. So, what is this Mental Health Care Act 2007? So, basically, this Healthcare Act has 16 chapters and 126 sections under them. 16 chapters and 126 chapters under them. It was passed by the Rajya Sabha on 8th of August 2016, and it was passed in the Lok Sabha on 3rd of May 2017. So, at that time, it was said that the Act should come into force on any date stated by the central government or from 9 months from the date on which the Mental Health Care Act 2017 receives the assent of the President. So basically it is a patient-centric Mental Health Care Act. So it mainly focuses on the rights of a person with a mental illness. And there are also newer options like the Advanced Directive, Nominated Representative, which was introduced. It is said to be progressive and in tune with the Western world. So it was basically patient-centric, and it has newer options like Advanced Directive, Nominated Representative, and it is in tune with the Western world. So newer terminologies that is introduced in this new Mental Health Care Act includes person with a mental illness, mental health professional, mental health establishment, advanced directive, nominated representative, mental health care authorities, central and state. So first we can take this one by one. So what are all the chapters in this new Mental Health Care Act? So there are 16 chapters. Okay. So the first chapter is the preliminary chapter. The second is mental illness and capacity to make mental health care and treatment decisions. A third chapter is advanced directive. The fourth chapter is about the nominated representative. The fifth chapter is about the rights of person with mental illness. The sixth chapter is about the duties of the appropriate government. The seventh chapter is about the Central Mental Health Authority. Eighth chapter is about the State Mental Health Authority. The ninth chapter is about the finance, accounts, and audit. The 10th chapter is about the mental health establishments. The 11th chapter is about the Mental Health Review Board. The 12th chapter is about the admission, treatment, and discharge. The 13th chapter is about the responsibilities of other agencies. The 14th chapter is about restriction of functions by professions. And the 15th chapter is about offenses and penalties. And the 16th chapter is about miscellaneous items. Okay, so the chapter 1. Chapter 1 is about the preliminary. So The clause 1 of the chapter 1 deals with the title, extent, and the commencement of the act. And the clause 2 deals with the definition of various terms. So, what is a mental health establishment? Means any health establishment, including Ayurveda, yoga, and naturopathy, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy establishment, and will include general hospitals also. So, who is a mental health professional? Uh, a mental health professional is either a psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, mental health nurse, or anyone with a qualification in Ayurveda, Unani, or homeopathy. So basically, it should be a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a social worker or a health nurse or anyone with a qualification in Ayurveda, Unani, or homeopathy. Okay. So minor means a person who has not completed the age of 18 years. So, who is a psychiatrist? Means a medical practitioner possessing a postgraduate degree or diploma in psychiatry awarded by a university recognized by the UGC. Delhi. Okay. So, what is a mental health illness? It means a substantial disorder of thinking, mood, perception, orientation, or memory that grossly impairs judgment, behavior, capacity to recognize reality, or the ability to meet the ordinary demands of life. Mental conditions associated with the abuse of alcohol and drugs, but does not include mental retardation, which is a condition of arrested or incomplete development of the mind of a person, especially characterized by subnormality of intelligence. So, who is an authority? Means the Central Mental Health Authority or the State Mental Health Authority. So, the board means the Mental Health Review Board, which is constituted by the state. So, in the chapter 2, clause 3 is the mental illness and the capacity to make decisions. Okay. So the clause 3 deals with the determination of mental illness by nationally or internationally accepted medical standards. Latest is the addition of the ICD. Okay. So clause 4 is every person, including a person with mental illness, is deemed to have the capacity to make treatment decisions if he or she can understand the relevant information, retain the information, appreciate foreseeable consequences of the decision, use that information and communicate his decision by speech, gestures, or expression. So he should be able to understand the information, he should be able to retain the information and appreciate the foreseeable consequence of the decision. He should be able to retain and use that information and communicate his decision, whatever he has taken, by speech, gestures, or expression. So what is an advance directive? So this is a newer terminology which has come in this 2017. So clause 5. So every person who is not a minor shall have the right to make an advance directive in writing. So either a plain paper with sign or thumb specifying how to be cared for and treated for mental illness, how not to be cared for or treated for mental illness, irrespective of his past mental illness or treatment for the same. Okay. So every board should maintain an online register of all the advance directives registered with it. An advance directive may be revoked, amended, or cancelled by the person who made it at any time. Advance directives shall not apply to emergency treatment of the said person. The board has the right to cancel or modify the advance directive if needed. If the MHP, caregiver, or the relative doesn't wish to follow advance directive, submit an application to the concerned board to review or modify or cancel the advance directive. So, a medical practitioner or a mental health professional shall not be held liable for any unforeseeable consequences on following a valid advance directive. So, the medical professional or medical practitioner or mental health professional shall not be held liable for not following a valid advance directive if he has not been given a copy of the valid advance directive. So, it should be given. So, the next terminology is the nominated representative. Every person who is not a minor shall have a right to appoint a nominated representative. The nomination can be made in writing on a plain paper with the person's signature or thumb impression. The nominated representative should not be a minor and should give his consent in writing to the MHP. So, if no representative is available, a relative or anyone appointed by the board or Director of Department of Special Welfare or his designated representative will act as a nominated representative. So clause 15 to 17 says in case of minors, legal guardian is a nominated representative. The board can revoke or change the nominated representative anytime. Duties of the nominated representative includes giving full support to the person with the mental illness. So the chapter 5 compiles all the rights of the person with mental illness. So clause 18 gives a right to access mental health care. Clause 19 gives a right to community living. So clause 20 gives a right to protection from cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. Right to live in safe and hygienic environment, to live in privacy, not to be forced to work in the MHE, not to be forcefully head shaven, and not to be forced to wear uniforms. Okay. So the right of equality that is dealt with in clause 21 and non-discrimination. So there should be equal treatment as those with physical illness, ambulance, and emergency services. Insurance should make provision for the treatment of mental illness as is available for physical illness. So clause 22 deals with right to information. The PMI and the nominated representative will have the RTI regarding the patient's admission, nature of illness, and the treatment options available. So clause 23 and 225 deals with the right of confidentiality and right to access medical records. Release of info to the nominated representative and the mental health practitioner. No info should be released without consent of PMI. PMI has the right to access medical records, but the MHP can withhold it if the disclosure will result in a serious mental harm to the PMI or others. So the right of confidentiality and right to access medical records. So the release of info to NR and MHP. Okay. So no info should be released unless the MHP finds some serious serious threat to either to the patient or to the others. So rights to personal contacts and information, rights to receive and refuse visitors, right to receive and make phone calls. And clause 27 deals with right to legal aid, entitled to free legal aid. And clause 28 deals with the right to make complaints regarding deficiencies in the provision of services. Okay. So the duties of the appropriate government. So clause 29 to 32 deals with creating awareness about mental health, reducing stigma, human resource development, and training. And chapter 7 deals with the Central Mental Health Authority. So the clause 33 to 44 deals with the composition and the duties of the Central Mental Health Authority. Chapter 8 deals with the State Mental Health Authority, that is under clauses 45 to 56. So that will tell about the composition and duties of the State Mental Health Authority. And the chapter 9 deals with finance, accounts, and audit. So clauses 57 to 64 deals with the grants, funds, and auditing. So chapter 10 deals with the mental health establishment. That is clauses 65 to 72. It deals with the registration, review, and inspection of the mental health establishment by the board. So first is provisional registration valid for 1 year, and that is renewable. And then permanent registration along with audit every 3 years. So chapter 11, 11 deals with the mental health review board. Okay. So that comes under clauses 73 to 84. So the mental health review board constituted by the state authority consists of district judge, representative of the district collector, magistrate. So the board should, the state constituted by the state, so that should consist of the district judge. Okay, representative of the district collector or magistrate, one psychiatrist, one medical practitioner, and 2 members. Either it should be a person with mental illness or a caregiver. So they should hold the office for 5 years, and their maximum age limit is up to 70 years. So the review board should consist of the district judge, representative of the district collector or magistrate, one psychiatrist, one medical professional, and 2 members, either a PMI or a caregiver, and they should hold office for 5 years, or their maximum limit of age will be up to 70 years. So any person with mental illness, nominated representative or representative of NGO with the consent of the PMI can file grievances with the national with the mental health review board. Will have to dispose of within 90 days, and all the proceedings of the board should be held in camera. So any complaints that the board gets, they have to dispose it off within 90 days, and it should all be camera, should all be under camera. So the central authority will appoint an expert committee to prepare guidance documents for mental health professionals or medical practitioners for treatment and care procedures. Okay, so the board will form a central authority that will appoint an expert committee to prepare guidance documents. So they charter a guidance document for the mental health professionals or medical practitioners for treatment and care procedures. Chapter 12 deals with admission, treatment, and discharge. Under that, clause 85 tells about independent admission. So that refers to admission of PMI to an MHC who has a capacity to make such decisions or need minimal support, provided he has a severity needed for admission, will benefit from admission and has a capacity to consent. So we can make an independent admission. Okay. Uh, like for a person who has the capacity for the PMI, who has the capacity to make such decisions or need minimal support. So he should be able to take decisions, and he should be able to be on his own. So in that cases, independent admissions can be made. Clause 87 deals with the admission of a minor. So the nominated representative should apply to the MO in charge of the MHE. So there should be two psychiatrists, or one psychiatrist and one MO, or one psychiatrist and one MHP should independently see the minor, so that is age below 18 years, and certify the need for admission. So the minor should be accommodated separately from adults and along with the nominated representative. The board should be informed within 3 days of admission, which will conduct a review, especially if the admission days exceeds 30 days. Discharge of independent patients. So any patient admitted as an independent patient has a right to be discharged at any time. However, MHP can prevent the discharge of a PMI admitted for a period of 24 hours so as to assess him for admission under clause 89. So, however, the MHP can prevent the discharge of a PMI admitted for a period of 24 hours so as to assess him for admission under clause 89. So clause 89 is a supported admission within 30 days. So the nominated representative should apply to the MO in charge of MHC. So one psychiatrist and one MO or MHP should independently see the PMI on the day of admission or preceding 7 days and certify the need of admission as threat to self, threat to others, or unable to care for himself, and inability to make valid and competent decisions. So the medical officer or the MHP in charge of the MHE of the establishment shall report admissions to the concerned board within 3 days if women or a minor or if women or minor, or else within 7 days. So if it is a woman or a minor, it should be reported within 3 days. If anybody else, then it can be reported within 7 days also. So clause 90 deals with supported admissions for more than 30 days. So two psychiatrists should independently evaluate the patient and certify the need for continued admission. Okay. So clause 91 deals with absence on leave. So a person with mental illness admitted may be granted leave from the mental health establishment by the medical officer or the mental health practitioner. So clause 92 deals with absence without leave or discharge. So a person with mental illness who absents himself from the mental health establishment without leave or discharge is liable to be taken under the protection by the police upon request from the MHP and shall be sent back to the same mental health establishment. So chapter 12, continuing on chapter 12. Clause 94 deals with emergency treatment. So any registered medical practitioner can initiate emergency treatment to any person with mental illness if there is a threat to self or others or objects or property, and includes transportation to the nearest mental health establishment. So emergency treatment is limited to 72 hours. So under this emergency treatment, advanced directive is not valid for an emergency treatment, and ECT should not be used as an emergency treatment. So prohibited procedures, which is under clause 95, includes ECT without anesthesia, ECT for minors, that is below 18. So if required, consent from guardians, then the concerned board should be taken. If we need to give ECT for the children below 18 years of age. So sterilization as a treatment for mental illness. So chaining in any manner are all prohibited procedures. Okay. And clause 96 deals with psychosurgery. So psychosurgeries needs informed consent and permission of the board. And clause 97 deals with physical restraints and seclusion. So should be used only when absolutely needed, and least restrictive method to be used, and it should be recorded in the patient's notes. And care should also be taken whether to limit any harm to the patient. Okay. In the chapter 13 deals with the responsibilities of other agencies. Okay. So clause 100, it is the duty of the police to bring any person with mental illness wandering to a mental health establishment. They should not be put in a lockup, or they should not be imprisoned. If we find any person with mental illness, they should be brought to a recognized mental health establishment. Okay. So in the clause 101 to 105, that deals with the duty of the magistrate, prisoners with mental illness, and persons in custodial institutions. Okay. So clause 14 deals with restrictions of the functions by professionals, by the mental health, like by the psychiatrist and other mental health professionals. Okay. So chapter 15 deals with offenses and penalties. And chapter 16 deals with the miscellaneous items. So under the miscellaneous items, one important thing that needs to be focused on is about the section 115. So any person who attempts to commit suicide shall be presumed, unless proved otherwise, to have severe stress, and shall not be tried and punished under IPC 309. Okay. So wrapping up again, going through the various chapters, the 16 chapters. So the chapter 1 deals with the preliminary illness. The chapter 2 deals with the mental illness and the capacity to make mental health care and treatment decision. Chapter 3 deals with the advanced directive. Chapter 4 deals with nominated representatives. Chapter 5 deals with the rights of the person with mental illness. Chapter 6 deals with the duties of the appropriate government. Chapter 7 deals with the Central Mental Health Authority. Chapter 8 deals with the State Mental Health Authority. Chapter 9 deals with finance, accounts, and audit. Chapter 10 deals with the mental health establishment. Chapter 11 deals with mental health review board. Chapter 12 deals with the admission, treatment, and discharge of the patients. Chapter 13 deals with the responsibility of other agencies. Chapter 14 deals with the restriction of functions by professions. Chapter 15 deals with the offenses and penalties. And chapter 16 deals with the miscellaneous items. Okay. So that is in brief of our Mental Health Care Act that has been established in 2017. So the things that had to be noted was the newer additions of advanced directive and nominated representative, and okay. So Mental Health Act, is it a boon or a bane? So what are the merits in the current Mental Health Care Act that has been amended in 2017? So there are newer and reformed terminologies, as I had told earlier. like the person with mental illness, mental sorry, person with mental illness, mental health professionals, and mental health establishments. So there are newer terminologies like this. So there is decriminalization of the suicide. That is what has been told earlier. So anybody who tries to harm themselves, like who commits to try suicide, should be considered to have done it under severe stress unless otherwise proven. So they should not be criminalized using Section 309. So decriminalization of suicide and appropriate government will be bound not only to provide care, treatment, and rehabilitation of such person, but also to take measures to reduce its occurrence. Okay. So the third merit is there is a focus on the rights of the person with mental illness. That is the chapter 5 of whatever we had been discussing. So that focuses on the rights of the person with mental illness. So there should be provision for medical insurance for the treatment of mental illness at par with the physical illness by all insurers. So that is a good thing for the people with lower social so lower socio-economic status. So there has been a stringent rules in the supported admission. As we had seen earlier, so if it is less than uh, so if it is within the 30 days, a nominated representative should apply to the MO in charge of MHE. One psychiatrist and one MO or MHP should be independently see the PMI on the day of admission or preceding 7 days and certify the need of admission as threat to self, threat to others, or unable to care for himself, and inability to make valid and competent decision. Uh, Whereas in supported admission for more than 30 days, two psychiatrists should independently evaluate the patient and certify the need for continued admission. So there has been stringent laws for the supported admission. So there are again newer options like the advanced directive, nominated representative, etc., which I have explained earlier. So clearly describes the duties of the appropriate government. So it also gives like tells about the role of the government in the mental health delivery. So it also gives the responsibility to reduce stigma and promote mental care. So under the mental policies, mental health policies, national and district mental health policies. So the government has been given the responsibility to reduce the stigma and promote mental care. So demerits. So there has been over-inclusiveness of mental illness and avoidance of MR from mental illness. So as we had told earlier, IDD, otherwise the mental retardation, has been avoided from the list of mental illnesses. Okay, because it has a problem with the development and not with the mind. So that has been removed from the list of mental illnesses. And the issue of capacity to make mental MHCs and treatment decisions is inadequate and may have dangerous consequences as the patients may refuse a treatment owing to their symptoms. So there has been a point added about the independent admission thing, and the patient can decide what can be done to them. So the issue of capacity to make a decision, like and treatment decisions, admissions and treatment decision, is inadequate and may have dangerous consequences as the patient may refuse treatment owing to their symptoms. So patient with psychosis or with any alcohol withdrawal if he is in delirium. So at that time, that would be a dangerous thing if the patient may refuse treatment. So advanced directive, which has been added, is an ill-conceived concept in India. Because even when Western literature on advanced directive showed mixed results. So so it has been now been introduced in India. So the main issue is about educating the doctors and also the patients. So it has to be known to everybody so that they can make use of it, and like the public should make use of it. So that in a big country of India is quite a tedious task. And also the effectiveness in the Western literature, as mentioned here, the Cochrane reviews are showing a mixed results. So even if all these difficulties are overcome. So it would be a challenging thing to be done in a country like India. So nominated representative is a blow to the family support system of Indian society. So nominated representative is patient nominates about one person to take care of themselves. So that is a blow to the family support because our culture, India's culture, depends on our family support. So that itself is a very great treatment for the patient. So nominated representative will give a blow to that family support system of the Indian societies. So also, this focuses only on the treatment of the PMI in the mental health establishment and completely silent about their care in the community. So only establishment, what should be done in the mental health establishment was the only focus. And what the bigger thing that needs to be done in the community, like reducing stigma, creating more awareness. So that is not being focused upon properly. So that though these are the demerits in this Mental Health Care Act. Okay. So poor representation of psychiatrists in the authorities in the mental health review board. So need to report to the mental health review board every details which may cause delay in the patient care. And management of properties of persons with severe mental illness is completely absent. So rehabilitation, integration of homeless mentally ill into the community and management of their assets and the properties are completely absent. So the waiting for the board's approval for ECT in minors or emergency is withholding the much needed treatment which can otherwise save their life. So these are a few demerits that Mental Health Care Act 2017 possesses. So with this, I'm concluding. So Mental Health Care Act 2017 is a patient-centered act with a lot of drawbacks. So introduction of newer terms like advanced directive, nominated representative, mental health professional, mental health establishment, mental health authorities. So decriminalization of suicide is a good thing, and psychiatrists have not been given due consideration in the act with very poor representation in the authorities and courts. And ECT being a very effective procedure in emergencies is bad. So the role of family, the cornerstone of Indian society, has been undermined in providing care in hospital environment. So these are my references. Thank you.